Ooh, she's firm. Friday or Saturday?
It's today.
It's today? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I'll check tonight. What time's it at? Then he just sits there, looks at him, wait for it. I see where you're going there. So funny. Oh, my gosh. It's like, click, click. Gotcha, bitch.
Gotcha. Right on.
I'm back. I'm back in the saddle again.
I was thinking more like Snoop Dogg, drop it like it's hot.
That'd be you. You can roll that shit.
Snoop Dogg?
Yeah.
What, like you pick it up, then stop? What? Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Because today, I need a little beat, a little. Today,
You're butchering that.
do I need to rewrap that?
You might.
Well, what are your thoughts on foreplay?
Mandatory. Got to put in that work, son.
Well, I think that's a good opinion. Today we got to skip the foreplay.
Do we? Yeah,
it's a very exciting day.
You don't want to be disappointing, man. You got to build up a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to create the excitement. You got to work into it a little.
I think Mathews did that for us.
You'd be a little.
I think Mathews has done the foreplay.
Have they now?
So
you just want to get right into it, huh?
I think so. Yeah.
No chatting, no nothing. Just give me that big bow, son. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, there's gonna be hype. It's hyped. People are hyped. We're just gonna dig right in. This is the Mathews Lift X.
Yes'm.
Talk to us,
all right,
Bow Wizard.
Well, there's actually, and I know this is probably going to be an unpopular statement, but it's real. There's not a lot of change here, and in my personal opinion, I'm not sure how you would make a lot of change over what was already there, because I really only had one gripe about this bow last year: is the tuning system was not great. So they fixed the tuning system, and what they've created is probably like. Let me back up a second. So like 5 or 6 years ago, Bowtech came out with the deadlock system, which allows you to move your cam left to right via Allen wrench. And I was blown away by that system. The day I saw it, I walked up to him, looked how it operated, and said, that's the smartest thing I've ever seen. It's like, that is amazing. Cool idea. And then I immediately went, I don't know how anybody's going to get around that. Like, I don't know how you're going to make something that works like that isn't a violation of a patent, and as long as they keep paying their royalties, nobody's going to be able to use it unless they choose to, to license it to somebody, which might have been the smart move in the long run. This system works in a very similar fashion, but is absolutely not the same thing at all. So the cam, I'll grab another one. The cam on these bows, which they have 4 bows this year on the hunting side that are new. The left side of the cam is slave to the left limb. All right. So there's no movement that occurs from the cam left. And this is on a right-handed bow. So the spacer and the axle assembly and everything is fixed. It does not move. The limb on the right side in the bracket attachment, there's a screw that you extract and then a wrench underneath that. And it actually moves the limb left to right slowly and slightly, which changes your wheeling. It is the cleverest way you could have achieved the same easy task, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. And it is massively superior to the product they made last year, even though there's not a lot of change to it. They also went through and redesigned the process a little bit on the limbs. It's called Arc 7 technology. They basically said it's like bulletproof in the limb. So just to ensure that there is a little bit of improvement there over what they made last year. So but they kept the riser platform the same. They did change the riser a little bit, which at first I didn't realize it until the engineering and marketing called, and we had a little conversation about just to cover some things, make sure I didn't miss anything. And they recut the riser where your thumb sits when you're holding the bow, because it always rubbed the crap out of my thumb. They recut it to where it's nowhere near your thumb. So my biggest gripe of the bows was 2 things: tuning system, and that grinds the shit out of my knuckle. I got to put an aftermarket grip on it just to shoot it because it hurts. It doesn't even get close. I shot all four of the bows that I was given like 15, 20 times, and it doesn't get anywhere near touching my thumb.
Right on. Yeah, I can see that right here.
Which is phenomenal. Thank you. I think it's Derek. I'm pretty sure that I literally told him to his face. I was like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Walked out of the room and my sales rep's looking at me like, I think you pissed him off. Like, well, I mean, when half of your consumer base complains about it, you're clearly not paying attention. And I think I want to say that's who it was. And so if he recut it for that, dude, fucking killer, man. Thank you. I am blown away by the changes that they made to that bow because the bow was already near perfect. I don't know how you'd drastically improve on it other than the tuning system and the fact that your thumb grinded on it. It's awesome. And not only that, they came out with they came out with a new grip called Bond, and they came out with 3 different options of it. Now I'm pretty sure it comes standard with the Engage Bond grip. And how it's different than the standard Engage is it's a little bit bigger, and they put a little rubber inlay in it so you can change some color contrast. So you can actually have like color matching crap going on in the grip. But they also put it in a pop-in, pop-out system to where you can take the grip on and off with ease. Like I can just pull it right off and the grip's off. And you can put a different grip in and try the different options. And they came out with one that they called the Contour. And hang on a second. Let me grab it real quick. I got them in front of me. They still have the side plates. They're not called Engage side plates anymore. They're called Bond side plates. And then they have the Contour and the Taper. And the Contour is a 14-degree grip, which is the same as the standard Engage. It runs a 14-degree angle. But they put some wings on it for a better way to put it. So it's a little wider through your throat. So it's probably, if I had to compare it to something, I would say it probably more mimics the grip on a Hoyt, if I had to call it one thing, which, sorry if I'm cross-branding stuff. Some people get sensitive about that. And then they came out with one called the Taper, which is a 17-degree grip, which gives you a little bit more wrist, and it's wider the whole way down. So if I was to compare it to something, I would say it's probably similar to like an Ultraview grip, if I had to give you something to compare it to. You now have 4 different grip options from Mathews directly. Now, as far as I recall, and this is a question I should have asked them and I didn't, is can you order the bow with a different grip on it without having to pay extra for the grip? Because the grips are $99 each. Other than the 2-piece one, they're still $49.95, which they were before. So there's it's just nice to see them like clearly addressing things that have been complaints. I think is probably the best way to put it, because at the end of at last year, the number one complaint obviously they got was you're not shipping me bows fast enough. You know, that was the biggest issue, because they really kind of knocked everybody's dick off, for lack of a better term. And you can see that with the changes and decisions that most manufacturers have made so far that I can tell of trying to combat the Mathews problem is the best way I would say. They're outselling everybody by a lot. And Mathews turns around and goes, well, the guys that were a real big fan of like Bowtech or Elite for home tunability, here's some home tunability. And the guys that were griping about, I like your bow, I just can't shoot it because of the grip, problem solved. So from an outsider just glancing the bows over, you're like, well, there's nothing, they really didn't change. Well, no, they made some big changes. They're just not as noticeable as you would think. And from here going forward, I really don't know what the hell they're going to do. Like, I don't, because you've got super user-friendly tuning. You've got the ability to change the poundage via module, which nobody else has, right? You've got a longer riser than your axle to axle across the board. So massive stability in any platform that you're comparing it into. Lots of grip options for people who complain about your grip. A lighter platform than half of the carbon bows. Like, if you start weighing out the carbon bows, Mathews aluminum bows weighing less than most of the carbon bow competitive options. And to boot, they only raised the price $40. Like, they added all these things to you, and this is 2 years in a row. Like, they went from a Phase 4 to a Lift and raised the price $30. Then they went from a Lift to a Lift X, added you great tuning ability, grip options, a little more durable limb, like everything they could change to improve, like what can we improve, and then only changed the price $40.
Mm-hmm. Friends, it helps us a shitload if you can leave us a review or subscribe wherever you are listening. And if you want to get your grubby little mitts on some archery gear, Josh has an archery dealership, PuttyMarcher.com. PuttyMarcher.com has more than you would imagine. Crazy stuff. I can't even believe he carries the stuff he does. It's all sorts of stuff. More stuff than you could imagine. Lots of stuff on PuttyMarcher.com. Discount code TimC will help save you some money, help support what we do. And let's get right back to the pod.
Like now you're starting to look at prices of bows like, I don't know, let's say Darton Elite, more of your mid-level, right? And they're the same price or less for the most popular selling brand. And then Hoyt came out with a higher price to boot. Like, I just, and I know it always comes off like, because I'm saying such positive things about Mathews that, he clearly like is endorsed or plays favorites or whatnot. I was like, I am completely open. Somebody bring me a better product. I will gladly stand here and say, this is better. Gladly.
Yeah, you were a Bowtech advocate for a lot of years because of...
I'm shooting a Bowtech right now.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it because the bow ain't out yet, but I'm shooting a Bowtech right now.
Yeah.
Like right now. That bow kicks the crap out of just about anybody's bow. Like, why would I use brand X or brand Y? What feature or benefit is that providing to me over this bow? And I don't know. Like, I don't. Comment down below on what makes X brand or Y brand better. But, like, let's look at a 33 carbon from PSE. Like, so the carbon argument, right, is always that it weighs less, right? That was the whole point. Or at least that's how it was brought to me. Yes, you can be more durable or more, it can flex and flex back, right? Which I'm not sure where that really helps you, but it's an argument, right? Outside of that, carbon's supposed to be lighter. And if I remember correctly, now mind you, don't go back to my Carbon 33 PSE video because the stats I was sent were wrong. Like it was preliminary stats that were incorrect, and then they went back on their website and corrected it after they sent out information and sent out bows. So the physical weight of that bow, I want to say, is 4 or 4.1, if I remember right, on the 33. That is a 33-inch bow that is 4.26 pounds, that when I weighed it weighed less than that, right? So we're talking about a tenth of a pound, realistically. So that's your argument for, I would assume, that's your argument for why the PSE Mach 33 is better. Tenth of a pound for $700 to shave a tenth of a pound. And a inferior tuning system. And I want to say it was right at the same speed. I'd have to go back and watch the videos. Bear with me. But that bow shot 333, the one in your hands. And I'm pretty sure the Mach 33 shot right at that. I'm almost positive. Like, I just don't see anything that's going to touch it. Now, there's some big rumor mill stuff on, and they've been calling me this week, and we've trying to find a time that coordinates with me and engineering and marketing and the owner of Prime, because supposedly they got some big changes. That's the rumor I've heard. I can't say I don't know, right? But that's the rumor, and they're launching in December. But yeah, I just don't know how you are going to beat this product. And that ain't a favoritism thing, man. Like, once you, just for clarification so people understand, once you get to a certain number of bows, which a good shop is going to get to, there's not any other incentive past that, okay? So any shop that does like 100-ish Mathews bows, which is a good size shop, but not the biggest shops, not the meccas, right? You don't get better than that. So me encouraging people to buy a Mathews bow financially benefits me zero, because I'm way past 100 bows a year. I don't gain anything from this. I don't get anything from this. In fact, I had to, this is a fun little story, and I'm going to leave names out of it because this is the petty industry drama bullshit that you deal with behind the scenes that I'm sure the fans will enjoy. And I haven't really talked to you about this, or at least I don't think I have.
Talk about it.
There was a certain company that got pissy about a comparison that was made in a video that I made between certain products. And going back and forth between the companies, there was arguments about not being informed, I want to say. And I'm going to leave it at that. But in any event, one of the companies, either the company that received the information is lying or the company that gave the information is lying, one of them two, implied that I wasn't supposed to release the video yet. So they had time to inform them of what was happening. So they didn't find out about it on YouTube like everybody else, right? And it got back to Mathews. that I released a video early. And I had to prove that I didn't, just to be able to still get product. Now, mind you, I'm a very large Mathews dealer. I don't think it's relevant to talk about how large, okay? I'm a large Mathews dealer. A lot of money goes through my store into their pocket. And I had to prove that I did not release something before I had consent. But fortunately, I had proof of it, so I was able to pass it along, or they weren't even going to send me bows early this year. Like, they were concerned about sending me bows early.
Like you were going to be the leak?
Like I was going to be the leak. So for anybody that thinks that I'm just a fanboy and I got some special favoritism, I had to prove this just to be able to get the bows early.
Sounds like you got grilled a little more than you needed to, honestly.
I'm fucking hot. And believe me, I'm half tempted to go to an event where I know both of these people are and force them to get in front of me and tell the truth.
Yeah.
Because you're fucking with my livelihood.
Yeah.
With my ability to do these things, to be able to get you guys the information on these products as soon as we're allowed to have it is really vital to my business plan. And when someone's going to imply that I didn't follow protocol, then there becomes a lack of or a large concern that, well, maybe we shouldn't be giving him these products early. That is fucked up to lie about it.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I had proof to be able to show that they're lying.
Yeah.
I have documentation because of messaging and emails. I can prove date and time. You told me to release this product right now.
Well, nobody likes getting their integrity questioned either, especially if you were of integrity during the process.
I have always followed whatever protocol they have given to me. Yeah. I have watched other people release product before me and reach out and say, hey, what's going on? I thought I was supposed to wait till 9. Like that happened Hoyt launch.
Yeah.
I was given a time that the product was allowed to go out. And somebody else already had a video out the second Hoyts went out. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. I thought we had to wait till here. So somebody got an unfair advantage on how much time their video's out first. So it automatically compiles more views than yours for a little while. So I always follow protocol. I always do what I'm told because at the end of the day, I simply want to be able to get you the information that you trust me to convey as soon as possible. And if I violated that in some way, which really wouldn't benefit me in any way to do it, if I violated that, that would put that at risk, and I will not risk that. So for any manufacturers that are listening to this podcast, know that as fact. I will never release something before I'm allowed to. If I released it, I was allowed to release it.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, and I'd like to see, personally, I'd like to have just seen maybe Mathews not be so concerned about that because they are such a large account.
They have a right to be concerned in that scenario if that's starting to get around. But the reality is, if that gets around, I'm going to go to the face of where that came from and have a face-to-face conversation and say, what are you opening your mouth for? And furthermore, why didn't you just come to me? You have my information.
Right. Yeah. And the first
why are we talking behind people's backs and trying to imply that I'm doing something wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. That's sometimes stuff like that happens.
Petty, childish bullshit is what it is.
It's very petty, childish bullshit. I agree with you.
And that fire feels good.
It
was cold in here when we started.
I want to talk about what I'm looking at here because some people are just listening to this.
Sure.
And so what I'm looking at is a tuning system with, is it an Allen on each side? So
the Allens are on each side, but the adjustment is only on the right side.
Is one side a crack then or no? Like
one side's like holding the assembly to the limb.
Okay.
So the left side, the screw that goes through it actually holds the assembly to the limb.
So you don't do anything with that?
So you don't touch it.
Okay.
You never touch the left side. This is on a right-handed bow, folks, just for clarity. If it was a left-handed bow, all of this information is opposite.
And if I wanted to adjust this, I would...
You unscrew well, here, let me grab an Allen wrench. It's easy. Dude, it's so simple, and you can leave the screw out while you're tuning.
It's so simple a caveman could do it?
Yes.
It's so simple a redneck could do it?
We should cut in the Geico guy. He gets all pissed off when you see.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious. Hang on.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking at an Allen attachment that is just above the limb, and they still have the things for the finger press there. Okay.
So you just pull the screw. So you just pull the screw completely out.
Yep.
And then you can see the adjustment screw underneath it. There you
go. Okay. So we back that out, and then we have an adjustment on the internal that we can crank right or left, right?
Yep, that physically drives the limb in or out. The distance the limb is from the cam gets bigger or smaller
and
depending on which direction you turn it. Yes, it's a bigger Allen by like 2 sizes or 3 sizes.
I'm actually doing this on the fly right here.
Yeah, we're just.
Do we have an
Well,
idea?
the idea of this is that you could see how I have no idea how to do this. How long did it take me to figure out how to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, this is really simple.
Do we have an idea of how far we can move a tear?
I have not functionally done it. I will make a video on it as soon as these bows launch on how much the movement of this changes a tear. But if I remember right, because I did build Dan's bow way back when because he had this, and I want to say I moved a tear close to an inch.
Yeah, close to an inch.
Yeah.
Grab this really quick.
I'll do it.
I'll be-
You think go out?
Yeah, it's gonna be too late.
Oh, it's too late. What'd you eat?
Yeah. We have a doggy situation. Will you get the right size Allen in there? I think I'm just futzing with it wrong. I feel like I'm on the spot and
Yeah, here, give it to me. No worries.
here.
Oh, you get a little performance anxiety there,
I
buddy?
guess, yeah.
Let's take a look here.
Yeah. So I am curious just how far we're going to be able to move a tear with this system.
Yeah. It's a large Allen wrench.
Yeah.
That's it right there. You were almost there. Just
It
one
was
more.
One's one more bigger.
One more, yeah. One more bigger.
So it was like 4 sizes bigger.
Yeah. And it's literally as simple as that. You just twist it in, twist it out, and there's a line on the axle. There's like a window you can see.
I like
Shows
that.
you how much you move. It's simple, dude.
Yeah, I like that.
Like it's piece of cake. And the beauty of this is that screw that we take out to begin with serves no purpose other than to cover the hole. Right? It's not doing anything other than that. So you can leave them out the whole time you're working on your bow, the whole time you're shooting your bow, the whole time you're tuning your bow. You can just grab it and turn it, and it's unlocked. There's not an additional thing to move. It's not like there's a lock screw and then an adjustment screw. You just take the cover screw out, drive it which way you want, left or right, and then put the screw back in. Just make sure you put that back where you started from, roughly, if you can keep them. So it's not
about in the middle.
wonky.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I went to both sides. But yeah, I like that. I like having the line in the middle. I think that's great. That's like getting it right on the first try kind of thing.
Yep. It's a freaking simple system. I mean, I hate to kind of acknowledge it, but it's simpler than Bowtech's system.
Yeah.
It really is.
And these are on top and bottom?
Yeah, both of them have one. Yeah, top limb, bottom limb. And I meant to check with my sales rep because I haven't seen him yet. I'm supposed to see him today,
check
but
the
I'm
set
pretty
screw?
sure it's right there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call it a set screw. I'd call it a cap screw
Cap
because it's
screw,
a
yeah.
bigger deal.
That's a better term.
Because it doesn't actually hold it in place. It just covers the hole. I meant to message my sales rep before we got on this podcast just to confirm it because the target bows are supposed to start showing up today, but I'm almost positive all the titles have this too.
Wow.
And if that's the case, that's the only target bow. Well, there's 2 target bows with tuning systems. You got Bowtech's and Mathews.
Yeah.
With their easy to use tuning systems, and I can only fathom how much of a benefit that thing's going to be for a real precision target guy. And they released 4 target bows now total. So there's a 34, a 36, a 38, and a 40. And once again, they only raised the price, I think, like $40 or $50 on their target bows by adding a complete tuning system to it. Like I don't know. Traditionally, I've been doing this a really long time. Traditionally, when they make changes to products, they raise the price a decent amount, $50 to $100. And almost every manufacturer does. You can watch their prices progressively climb every year as they release a new product. They're not really doing that. Like they are, but it's such a small, minuscule amount that I think it's starting to make the other guys kind of look bad, to be honest. But I don't know. I hate to get too far into one direction, but because I mean, it just looks like all I do is praise Mathews, but they're doing the best job. They are. From a manufacturing standpoint and to boot, almost every change they made this year and every product that they came out with, because they did come out with 2 new bows too in the hunting field, but they basically replaced their long draw bow and the women's short draw bow. They duplicated the use of the same component over and over and over. Like that cam is on almost every bow other than the long draw version has a bigger cam of that, but it takes the same module. So now the lift modules fit every hunting bow. Right? They didn't redesign modules for this, that, and the other.
That's good.
It takes the same cam.
That's good.
Right? And the little pocket rocket that they came out with is 27.5 axle to axle. It's a skeletonized riser, just like a Lift 29.5. It maxes at 29, and then they just have 2 different limbs on it. And what they did to the limb is they tapered the end of the limb in the limb pocket to change the poundage. So it's still the same limb, just right at the end, they taper the corner off. So they're still making the same freaking limb, and allowed you to put two different options on it. One that goes for peak weights of 41 to 60 pounds, and one that goes with peak weights of 55 to 80 pounds. So you get the same specs that you can get on a Lift X 29.5 on an even shorter bow, and you can get an 80-pound, 23-inch draw length, freaking 27.5-inch axle to axle bow.
That's crazy.
That's wild. Like, nobody would ever make that. Other than they already have this whole platform that they can just keep transferring into other things that give you a greater range of options. But you also have a high performance women's, kids, short draw, whatever you want to call it. You can get it in a 40-pound peak or a 60-pound peak, and it's like 7 options in between, all because of a module. Like, that whole system just gives them such an advantage of versatility that doesn't really increase the cost. And I think that's part of how they've been able to make these changes and make these improvements and only charge you a little more, is because they're duplicating the usage of the same part. So they make more of the same cam, more of the same module, more of the same limb. That lowers costs by growing the number of units of the same SKU made.
Yeah.
From a manufacturing standpoint, it's brilliant.
I have something to add to that. I want to wait for that a little bit.
Okay.
One thing they're also doing is they're doing a really good job integrating pieces to the bow, which is a kind of a modern.
They crushed that.
A modern trend. Like having the right wheels for a car or whatever. Like, the parts that go on the bow that are made specifically for the bow, it just provides a competitive advantage because the person who's making those parts or has oversight of those parts is the person who's designing the bow.
Right.
So they have the most lead time to design. They have the most in-depth insight from their engineers to design. And it's a huge competitive advantage to be able to design accessories from the in-house team or through the in-house team.
Well, they kind of pioneered that. They were really the first guys to really do it. Now most of them are paying attention to that and doing that well. Even Elite really made a big jump in their efforts to make really low-profile integrated accessories that are specific to their bows. And it's largely due to what Mathews does.
Yeah.
Like, they do that. Hoyt did a really good job a year or two ago of really jumping hard into that train and making some really good low-profile stuff, like good quality stuff. I think it was 2 years ago or maybe even 3. But yeah, it's an awesome thing.
Well, Mathews changing that grip, I think, is huge for the program too. But there's an accessory I think that's going to really blow some people.
Do you want to jump to accessories, or do you want to cover the other 2 bows?
We should cover the other 2 bows.
Okay.
Yeah. But there is an accessory that's very exciting.
So this is the one I did talk about. It's called the Lift RS, and I don't know if that means really short.
Now, how much cooler does Pocket Rocket sound?
I know. Like, Pocket Rocket's dope.
I would have taken a 5-minute phone call with Josh Jones to be like, hey, what do you think about this? Pocket Rocket.
I like to think I do good naming.
Yeah,
I really do.
I think you might. I think you might do a better job than Lift and then Lift X. Like, how many people could have predicted that was coming?
Oh, I know one guy that kind of predicted almost exactly what they just did, but hey, who knows? Yeah. But yeah, this is a 27.5-inch platform, so it's the first time in a while they've made a bow that short.
This is really exciting.
It only goes to 29 inches on draw length, okay? So a guy with like a 30-inch draw length can't use this bow.
This product to me is very exciting.
But it's freaking sweet. And the fact that you can get still the same poundage options and the spread of that is just dope. Like a tree stand guy, shorter draw length guy, ground blind guy. And
do we know one of those guys?
This will be out. Yeah, we do. This will be out. My review of this bow will be out at that time, and I urge you to all go check it out because I roll in my pickup, and then I'm magically in the passenger seat, and I shoot out of the inside of the cab.
Oh, nice.
Shoot an arrow out, and I said, "Hey, road hunters, have I got a bow for you?"
Nice.
All joking, people. Just so you know,
Yeah.
I actually hit my headliner on it when I fired it and nicked it. So there's a little mark in it where you can see it go across, but yeah, I mean, for a super like low profile, compact little bow, it's really dope.
Let me ask you one question. So 29 and under, how much of the market does that cover? My guess is
90+%.
I was going to guess 80.
That's higher than that. Like 29 is the average draw length, and then it goes to 28.5, then it goes to 29.5, then it goes to 28, then 30, and then it like goes way, way, way short. Yeah. And then there's a lesser progression of people with a longer draw length.
This is a product a lot of people could consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. So they publish it. This bow was off quite a bit on speed when I tested it, but it's also the light limb. So I didn't have the right poundage and specs to test exactly. And I will go back and retest it with the heavier limb option, but this is just what they sent. So it was off in bit by speed. They published that if this bow went to 30 inches, it should shoot 353. And the 29.5 is published at 348. So technically, at your draw length, this bow, according to that spec, should shoot 5 or 6 feet a second faster than a 29.5. But it does have a shorter brace height. It's like a 5.5. Well, it's published 5.5, and it measured out at 5.25. So it's really short brace. But I shot this bow. I shot it a bunch, and I didn't nick my arm. I didn't feel it graze anything. Where normally a really short brace height, you'd run into that. So I don't know what they're doing, but that string does not go forward. So, and it didn't feel torquey. Like there's still plenty of room.
Looking at that thing from the side, those limbs are
all of the bows.
They're definitely above average length.
All the bows this year
very short limbs.
All the bows from them that I measured this year for riser length, the riser length was a half inch longer than the axle to axle. They're like super stable.
That's definitely part of the magic, right? Having long
100%.
risers. That creates stability down the midline. And when I feel it when I shot the shorter version of the two Mathews, and I could feel it in my hand. It's a very stable short bow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's big part of the magic.
For sure.
Especially for a light bow.
Right.
You know, relatively speaking. I mean, we talk about a half a pound between the light and the heaviest, but it does feel really solid vertically.
Yeah. Pretty sweet little bow. And then they made the XD.
Baby.
Yeah, here, swap me.
Can I trade you?
Yeah. And that. Got it? Okay. I'll put this back and grab the other one while you're looking at that.
Are you going to consider tree stand hunting with something like this?
I got a longer draw length than that.
Suck up your pride and go down to 29?
No.
No, actually, I saw you shoot a 30-inch bow the other day, and I thought you looked a little underdrawn, which is saying something. That means you got a long wingspan.
Yeah, well, the good Lord chose to bless me.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, no, I'm really more like a 30.5, but a lot of that depends on what I'm doing with it. If I am in a tree stand or that sort of situation, I do tend to run a little short on purpose.
The Pocket Rocket 5000. This is a sick bow. This is a very interesting little bow. A lot of tree stand hunters might be carrying something like this. Why wouldn't you? You good?
Yeah, sorry. It just it shifted weird when I got up and I was trying to get it back to where I wasn't leaning forward. And then the XD here, or the extra draw, I imagine.
The XD.
I'm guessing. It has the same cam. It's just freaking huge. I got a 8.5-inch hand, and it's almost the size of my hand when you try to stretch across it.
Okay, hold those side by
It's
side.
freaking huge. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. We're just having a heck of a day, folks.
Yeah, those are significantly different.
Yeah, so that's a significantly larger energy device. And the bow is only supposed to be shot at the draw lengths longer than a Lift 33. So it's only supposed to be shot from 32 to 33.5 or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The modules will go on it, but they strongly discourage putting the shorter modules on it. So really what this is you don't fit in a Lift 33 here, but only in that scenario.
Let's throw you a bone.
Yeah, let's throw you a bone. And it's great that they did that. And the other cool thing about that is this is a Lift 33 riser. This is a Lift 33 limb. So they're, once again, reusing the same componentry, so they only have to manufacture so many products. And I think that's really what's helping the ability to get the products out quicker and allowing them to keep in the price is that they're only making, in hunting, they're making 3 risers for the whole line. There's 3 risers made, right? Even though there's 7 bows or whatever, because the lift and the original lifts, the 33 and the 29.5, are still in the line. I don't know why somebody would order one of those in that scenario, because the new bow is superior by a pretty good amount. And my guess is if they still produce that bow, it's in their catalog, but if they still actually manufacture it, it will probably have the newer riser cut on it. I would imagine that they'd take that meat out that it was in there. But yeah, just such a stellar lineup this year. And then to add the tuning system to the target bows to boot, I'm assuming they're doing that, is it was already argued the most accurate target bow. People get that bow and their score goes up constantly. Mm-hmm. So it's just pretty amazing, man. I can't say enough good. They've covered every facet. all the technologies that they offer are in every bow. Whereas a lot of times they'd like offer new technology, but it's only in bow A and B, but bow C, D, E, and F don't have that tech. Every tech is transferred into every bow. They didn't shortchange the long draw bow. They didn't shortchange the short draw bow. They literally transferred everything across the board into everything. They all, like every bow in their line can use the Bond grip system. Like every bow. Even the target bows, same thing. They all transfer over the same stuff. I mean, they're just crushing it. I'm sorry. Like, once again, fanboy. Yeah, he's bought by Mathews. He's a shill. Fuck off, man. Yeah. They just make better crap right now. And I encourage everybody to learn from their lesson. Like, what are they doing and why? And honestly, like, you look at what the other brands tend to do the next year, they try to mimic what they're doing for the most part. Like, oh, you mean you made your limb blade over shorter and more. Oh, you made your bow riser lighter.
Longer risers.
That's been a massive lighter weight. I mean, who was doing that?
Yeah.
Mathews. So, and then you can accessory it up now if you'd like.
Yeah. Yeah, someone's got to be a leader. Mathews is doing a good job doing it. One thing I do like about them as a company is the people that they work with, you don't see a lot of turnover. Mm-mm. You know what I mean? Particularly from the people they sponsor.
Yeah.
And that says something, you know? It says, like, I think it says a lot about the company they are.
Well, they're always ahead of the game. Like, they know. I remember, this still blew my mind. This was before I was even really paying attention, right? I was at a trade show, and I went and talked to my rep. And mind you, this is like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. This is before I had a YouTube channel. I was kind of helping a little bit on Dan's at that time, but I wasn't really much involved. And literally wouldn't pay any attention to social media. I was like, that's for children. I'm not looking at it. And I had a buddy of mine that owned a shop in another state, and he was having a hard time getting Mathews. And he had the best business mind of anybody that I knew in that state and had money and was working hard on making a better archery shop than that state had seen. And I went to him and talked to him, and I was like, hey, why aren't you guys putting so-and-so on? And they immediately pick up their phone, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, and are searching the person that way and looking at what they're doing. Yeah, we probably should consider them because they're looking at what their social media looks like and what they're posting and whatnot. And this is before I was paying any attention to it. I'm like, you're seriously using this as your guideline? Like, yes. And what are most people making their decisions based on now?
Yeah, for sure.
They were so far ahead of that they emphasized the importance of that. And now I really think you're starting to see the next brand pay a lot of attention to it and putting a lot of money in that direction and putting their emphasis and energy in that direction because it moves the needle more than anything else. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. People are a little burnt out on legacy media, and by a little, it probably mean a lot.
Completely.
Yeah. And media's evolved a lot, and it's cool that they're paying attention.
So you ready to talk about the new Mathews site?
Yeah, let me swap you. So, by the way, before we put that short bow away, I think that to me it's very interesting and awesome that Mathews made that bow. I think it's a product that's going to fit a lot of people, and they should consider, particularly if they're primarily a tree stand hunter, don't want to shoot past 50 yards at an animal, which most people don't, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't. I want to get as close as possible, but, you know, sometimes on a Western hunt, a longer opportunity presents itself, but yeah, that's a great option. I'd be curious to see, like, to get our neighbor over here to shoot that thing at range and see how he could shoot it.
He ordered one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him he didn't even know about it, and I told him about it when I heard about it.
That's AKA Dan, AKA Elk.
Yeah, he immediately contacted him and said, "I want one of those bows."
Yeah, he should have one.
Yeah, because he just likes the short stuff, and this is shorter yet. So.
Yeah, and why? Yeah. So okay, this is cool. I got to see this, but I haven't really spun on it. And what I'm looking at is a Mathews partner product with Ultraview. Right? It's a bow sight.
Correct.
That to me, as I pop it in my hands, looks like a mini Ultraview. It's got the wheel, it's got the lock.
So how this was explained to me originally, is Mathews engineers kind of redesigned the sight the way they wanted it, and then presented it to Ultraview, and said, "Hey, make this the way we want it, but we want exclusivity on you making this for X amount of time." So they took like an existing Ultraview sight and drastically improved it, had a better attachment system, better leveling system, micro pieces, rechargeable battery instead of replaceable battery, and a vertical 3-pin, horizontal 3-pin, horizontal 5-pin options.
I like that it's a smaller package. Sometimes small packages are nice.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. It's just more compact.
It's definitely a cleaner mechanism, cleaner movement. Click the windage. The windage feels like no, left to right, Tim.
Right. But I wanted to feel if you could still override it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So windage.
Yeah. It's way cleaner.
God.
It's way cleaner than it was. Like ridiculously better.
I asked for that in my initial review of this product. They got to hear that. That's a beautiful sound. Let's give them a little sound here. You little sound whores, listen up. Those are not soft, undefined clicks. Those are real clicks that you can feel. That's cool. Good job. Good job, guys.
Yeah. Better. The pins look a lot better. There's no longer a lower pin coming into the sight picture. It's like a traditional pin sight. There's indicator needles on both sides, and there's a zero stop added too. So the ability to stop the sight's movement upwards. So
zero
you can
stop is huge.
set it. It is. You can set it at where 20 yards is and force the sight to stop there, so you can not look at it, move it to where it stops, and know you're at the beginning of the sight travel.
The bubble is
a simple solution.
The bubble is pretty. What would I say? Fine, and I think that's a good thing because it's gonna help you stay precise. Like
100%. Yeah. When they're slow, sometimes you have to sit there and watch it for 2 or 3 seconds to know what's actually there. That sucks. And the other caveat to this thing is whenever Mathews releases a new accessory, the online sellers, us, are not allowed to sell it online until there's not a back order.
Oh, interesting.
They fully expect this site to be back ordered anywhere between 6 months and a year. So please don't message the website. Please don't call the online store begging and pleading for us to ship you one. We can't. So we will announce when we're allowed to ship them. There'll be posts. There'll be an Instagram thing. I'll put all kinds of stuff out there saying, hey, guess what? We can now ship these sites, but we are not allowed to ship them. So please don't call asking. It's agonizing for the guys answering the phone over and over and over. When you go, pretty please, it's not going to matter what you say. It's not going to matter if you don't have a dealer within 12 hours of you. We can't ship you one. So don't ask. Kind of like the modules last year. Don't ask. We'll tell you when we can ship them.
Okay. Adjustments. It has the rail.
1, 2, 3, man. First, second, and third. The head's slave to the body, so you can't separate those two.
Okay.
If you're not, so the whole reason of having a head independent of the body or the rail and the head is if you're interchanging heads. You can't interchange heads. You can only put their head on there. So in that scenario, you don't need that adjustment. But if you're shooting like an Achieve XP and then you're putting a Shrewd scope on it, those two things might not be machined on the same plane, so you need to be able to adjust them. When it's all integrated and it's all one thing, you don't need to set them separately. So there is no adjustment for that on there because they're not intending on you using something different. You have to use the heads provided. And you can put a different insert in it. You can put a different, I think you can still get, or you will be able to get a 1-pin up on that you could pull the pins out and stick a single in there, and it would still line up the same because the housing's got the bubble in it, not the insert.
Oh, they're going to have some vertical options, you think?
Oh, they have a vertical 3 for sure. Mathews is offering it as a vertical 3, a horizontal 3, or a horizontal 5. They didn't offer a 1, which I think is kind of stupid, but I'm willing to bet you can probably buy a 1 insert from Ultraview.
Okay.
That would fit it.
Well, let's talk about
some
the
point.
price.
$700. Sorry. $699.99. Sounds so much better, doesn't it?
$699.99.
Well, the Ultraview site was $600, and they added a lot to it. The mechanism itself is better. The axis adjustments are better. The rechargeable battery system in it. Multiple pin options, not just one option. You get to pick. So I don't think it's... If you felt like the Ultraview site was priced fair, this is priced fair. If you felt like the Ultraview site was way overpriced, this is probably overpriced. So do that with you as you may, I guess.
So that was the caveat I wanted to add earlier on accessories is base model, super competitively priced. I could make a lot of arguments that say it should cost more. But as you build it out with accessories are not cheap.
No.
Let's build it out.
If you buy a Mathews site and a Mathews rest, you spend $1,000.
Yeah, let's build it out real quick.
Oh, and one other thing that I didn't tell you that they added, they're also offering the bridge lock stabilizers in a 15-inch model now.
Okay.
Aluminum 15s. They only went to 12 before. and they're $10 more.
Let's do it. We can use rough numbers. We don't need to hide from numbers. Bow cost
Depends on which model, but say average $1,300.
$1,300. Mathews rest
$300.
$1,600. Mathews sight
$700.
$2,300. Mathews. Let's just go front stabilizer.
Depends on the length, but say
Obviously.
$250.
$250. What were we up to?
$2,300.
Okay, so that puts us at $2,550.
Why don't you have me say the things so you remember the numbers?
Okay.
Because you're going to screw with my head if I have to come up with the number and then remember your number.
So we're at $2,550. We don't have a back bar
Okay,
yet.
so just double it. So that's another $250, depending on how long it is, right?
So that puts us $2,800.
And then the V-bar bracket's $200.
$2,800. So that's $3,000.
And then the quiver is $250, give or take.
Okay, so we're at $3,250, and that's all Mathews accessories. We're integrated. Everything's tight to the bow. It's not going to fall off. It's not going to shimmy apart. And if you need to call them up,
limb legs, $80. Everybody buys limb legs.
Yeah, so that's extra $100, $3,300.
Yeah. So $2,000 in accessories on a $1,300 bow.
Yeah. Yes.
And we still got to buy arrows.
Pricing strategy, you're keeping the base price low, but
and that's not assuming you didn't change the grip out, which would be another $100.
You can spend some money on accessories. Now, if you're willing to spend money on accessories, they are clean. Everything integrates quite nicely. Just depends on what you want to do with your monies.
Yeah, aesthetically, good luck beating how good it looks with all their stuff on it.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing, and it's rough too. And I don't mean to. Here's a good example of how you can prove I am not a shill for Mathews. They crush the margin to the dealer on their parts. Like a dealer will traditionally make more money on the accessories if they sell you something that isn't their brand.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're a boat company, so they have a given margin or percentage of profit that they expect the dealer to be able to make, and they don't transfer that margin on in the accessories. It's closer to bow margin because there's usually more margin in accessories to make money. So if I was a paid shill by Mathews, I would never say that. They don't give you enough profit in the parts.
Yeah, usually you're going to make money on accessories.
Like if I sold you an AAE stabilizer and a black gold sight and a Hamsky arrow rest, I'm likely making more money.
Yeah.
By doing that instead of using the labeled Mathews stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't argue with how good it integrates and looks on it. But they're not giving you, in my opinion, a fair margin. And I can guarantee you by saying that I'm probably going to get a phone call. But it's the truth. It just is.
Yeah.
So, and nobody that was getting a check from them would ever say that. So take that to the bank, folks.
Take it to the bank. Are you a fan of alternating green-red pins?
I like green-yellow. Okay. And I like green-yellow because yellow usually shows up later than red.
Okay.
So if you're staring at pins and the light's fading, you're more likely to see that yellow pin later than the red pin. The red pin, for me, always dims out first. And I think I've heard that more often than not from the majority of people. Everybody's eyes see colors differently, right? So what yellow looks like to me might not be what yellow looks like to you, right? But that's why I've always gone with that combination. However, green-red is way more popular. So most sites are done green-red, 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 green, or green-red, yellow, red, green, or that kind of thing. Or green-red, yellow, green, red.
Yeah. Let me talk about just a quick experience I had one time. I had a green, red, green sight. And I put a pin on a bear at 20 yards, and I used my bottom green pin on accident, and I shot over that bear. And that could happen. It depends how where you are in the moment. What I have done since to combat that is if I feel like I haven't hunted with that setup, but on that setup, what I did was I went and I put a little coloring on the bottom one. So it had a little white whiteout or something.
Yeah.
So I made sure
that was actually really common for a guy to do. He'd pick a pin that was farther down and white one of them. So he knew from here down, that's 60, 70, 80, that kind of thing. Especially when you shot lots of pins. When you shot more than 5 pins before movable sights were a thing, it was really common to paint the 5th pin or something like that. So your brain could just jump to that one and count down instead of having to go 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, that kind of thing.
So if it was a dedicated hunting bow and I had a green, red, green, I would do that again. That's food for thought if that's a site you're considering running. Or maybe, you're smarter in the heat of the moment than I was. But I definitely made that mistake one time. How are we doing on covering all this stuff? Did we cover everything?
I don't think we missed anything. There's some of the camo colors went away. There's only 4 camo colors now. They added a new color called shale, which is in your hands there. Is that the gray?
Shale's like a classic looking gray.
It's a darker gray than the original one.
This is the kind of color granite. Often in the past I would consider running. Just something that's a good flat color.
It still looks kind of black, but not. You get that good contrast of something that isn't black, but it's very dull still, so it's not ever going to look in any environment like it pops out.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Nice
I like
color.
it. They definitely it looks better than granite did for sure. It's a truly authentic gray, I think.
Yeah.
And then what else?
Well, just my experience shooting it as a very unsponsored mathlete. Got it close to the target, pulled it back a couple times, shot it. I haven't really put many arrows through a Mathews in 2 years, 3 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And from someone who's coming from shooting something else, grabbing a Mathews, in the beginning of the cycle, it feels a little stiffer. Similar to how I would compare this year's Hoyt. It feels a little stiffer in the beginning. It's smooth back. There's no weird rollover, which is great. And it seemed to jump out of my hand a little more forward than years past, which I kind of like because that's given me some feedback. Especially with limbs being really parallel, a lot of times they don't bounce forward. Mm-hmm. But that just might be evolution in my archery shot too, so I can't really give it credit to that. But I did notice that. Mm-hmm. It did feel very stable. Like I watched that riser sit there, and it's not moving a lot side to side. And I shot the short bow model. Yeah. So what I would expect is if you're shooting another model, Mathews might feel a little stiffer in the front, and I wouldn't be discouraged by that. Because that's one of those things that as you get reps with it, you're going to get accustomed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just get used to it.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be a big deal.
Grip options are great. It's one of those things, everyone's got different hands. They have different preferences. They want different feels. But no matter what grip you choose, you want a grip that you could shoot very accurately. And their past grips, having a rounded edge, that could provide a different torque on the bow often, right?
Sure. You bet.
So unless you're like a super robot, and there's a reason all their pros would pull that grip off, I think that's huge for the program. I really like that they did that.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think they've done a great job.
Yeah. So as it sits, you roll up into an archery shop. You're like, hey, what bow should I test? I would definitely throw Mathews in the conversation. 100%. You should shoot it. If you're unwilling to spend money on all the accessories, you can shave money. The first place I would do would be stabilizers. Mm-hmm. Stabilizers don't necessarily need to be fancy.
No, and they're with what they're making, it's kind of hard to make. So there's definitely some cost into what they're making, but I don't think it's drastically benefiting you a ton. That's a really easy place to shave.
Yeah.
There's like our equivalent ones that I make are like $100.
Yeah.
And compared to 250 plus. So
yeah.
But and I make color matches too. So if you got a solid, I make the same color end caps. So they look good, but they don't ride back into the riser, which is a really smart idea.
Now, the continuation forward with the match strings, this is a higher quality string than they made a couple years ago.
Drastically.
Yeah. And last year, it kind of got mixed reviews. There was definitely what seemed like batches of the string that people were really happy with. They got a lot of arrows through. And there were batches where it seemed like they was changing their timing on them a little bit. Things are moving a little more. What was your take on that?
I had a couple for sure that I knew came out of time. I knew they did. Like my target bow, because I shot a title all last year for target. It never moved.
Yeah. Not
one iota. But my hunting bows that I played with did, which I shot a Lift 33 a lot, and I shot a Bowtech SS a lot. I shot several different bows last year. I never really settled on one. And I ran into that issue, so I changed my strings out. But and Dan ran into it at least 2 different times, and he changed his strings out.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it on the target bows. So I don't know if they make them different. I know they have natural fiber instead of black fiber traditionally. But I'm sure as they're going to redefine their process. If they start to run into issues where it's giving, they'll work on it and they'll improve it and they'll change it. I'd be shocked if they don't.
Yeah.
So I
If you're
think
the
that's
type-
just a natural progression.
If you're the type of person who's going to spend $3,500 and just go, I want the full meal deal, would you spend an extra $150 or $200 and swap strings?
Because of the experience I had last year, I'll change mine to gas right away.
Yeah.
And it's not a big burden to me to change my strings, so I don't mind doing it. Yeah, from an ease standpoint, I'd probably just swap it. But I do think they're right up there with one of the best quality bow provided strings made. Like, they are pretty good. So the average guy might want to wear it out first before you change it out. I just don't. I'm not 100%. I would change it out with the same thing. They're probably good enough if you know what to look for. If you start getting like a really weird low drop, all of a sudden you're probably out of time. And that is the one. I guess I'll say another negative thing about Mathews, so you can know I'm not a shill. They're the hardest bows to keep timed. Like, they come out, they're out a little bit. Like, if they add a timing feature next year, which I pray to God they do,
Like a dart and timing feature?
like a dart and timing feature would be dope. Like, good luck getting pissed on them. Like, you add that to it, and I don't know what you're going to do, because they are you can't twist a cable a quarter twist, right? And there's times where to get it timed just right, you need to be able to twist it a quarter, and I don't know how you're doing that. I really don't. But yeah, that would be my only real gripe, is they are really finicky on timing. So if your cable gives just ever so slightly, and that might be why, like, it's out of time. Well, that might be why it's noticeable. Is because if it's out barely, you'll see it hit different. And I did notice that last year. I was at that tack with Dan where we were shooting against Bodie, and a quarter of the way through, my bow came out of time, and if I didn't pull like super hard back into the end, it would drop drastically low. Like, miss the target low, and I had to keep shooting because we were scoring, and that's why I was burning up arrows. I'd miss a target low and break an arrow. But regardless, that's when I first saw it. And now I take that back. It happened one other time before, and I readjusted it, and I didn't ever see it again. And it wasn't a whole twist. Like, it was like a half a twist, and that almost seemed like too much. So, like I said, that the timing of those bows are a little finicky, and if they got a good cable orientation tool like the darting thing, oh my God, like, watch out.
Yeah.
How perfect is that bow at that point?
The stay afield system, do you ever hear people, have you heard a story where that like helped them out? Have you heard that story yet?
No.
No, I'm just curious.
No, I had it on, when I went hunting in Minnesota, I had it on there because it was all Mathews' stuff, right? And I had it on there, and the ropes were all there, and it worked really good. But outside of that, I just, most of the type of stuff I do, I wouldn't use it.
Right, practical use case.
Yeah, and they make some nice little features to them, but it's just like a little, I think that was a little, I kind of want this, so I'm going to put it on these bows, and if people want to buy it, fine. If you're going up and down tree stands with ropes, it's huge. It's hugely easy the way that's set up. You'll never have it accidentally fall off, which I used to loop a piece of paracord, run it through the cam, and hook it over on the other edge of the limb, right?
No, I'm talking about that thing that you can pull the cams.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the SCS. Sorry.
No, yeah.
That would come in handy, but I always take a press.
Yeah.
Right. So I've always got a pack and go with me. But if I didn't have one, I could see in the field that being an easy solution.
No. Well, good job, Mathews. This is a great product.
It is.
It's a really great product.
Yeah, it's a great product that is way too finicky to time, and the accessories don't have enough margin in them. Me hating. There you go.
Someone clip that.
I think we might have to make a little reel or short out of that. We should clip that.
Yeah, but you guys clip it too. Modern culture, things that are happening today. We have Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
Yeah, buddy. And I was informed by my little cohort right here that it's actually free on Netflix. I thought you had to pay for it.
No,
so I'm absolutely going to watch that tonight.
It's 100% free.
I was contemplating paying for it because I'm really intrigued to watch it, because Mike Tyson's 58 years old, and I would just love to see how badass Mike Tyson could still be at 58. Because I think he can.
He could be very badass.
I think he'd be very badass.
I've kind of followed the lead up to it from both sides. I've seen a few of Jake's fights coming to it, and Jake's definitely at this point an accomplished boxer. The counter argument would be, well, he hasn't fought enough professional boxers. He's fought a lot of MMA fighters and big names, because I think those are providing him the biggest paychecks. And he's like, why am I going to go fight a boxer when I could make a lot more money doing this? But aside from that, I think no matter who is in the ring with Mike Tyson, all Mike has to do is catch him.
His payday is $20 million on this one.
Yeah,
and Mike's is 10.
I heard something like that.
I saw it this morning.
Yeah. All Mike has to do is catch him with one, and Jake could be put to sleep.
Yeah, and I watched, I think it was before he had his health scare or something, because this was scheduled to happen way earlier, and he had a little health scare, and they called it off for a while.
Yeah.
I was watching some training video of him, and it was scary.
Yeah.
It's like, look at how fast he's still fucking moving.
Well, and Mike has anger.
And how hard he's hitting. Yeah, Mike.
He has anger in his eyeballs.
It's like the last
right now.
person I'd ever want to run into in a dark alley.
Yeah.
If he was pissed.
Yes.
Like I don't think it would matter that he's 58 years old. He's going to crush your soul.
Yeah. His eyes are angry right now. Like, he's in a different place. I would not want to step in the ring with that man. Vegas odds as of yesterday had Jake as the favorite. You had to spend, I always forget how that works. They call it like plus 212. You got to spend 212 to win 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mike so you get your 212 back plus $100.
Yeah. And Mike was like, you spend 60 to win 100 or something like that.
Right.
So Vegas odds are still has Jake as the favorite. But interesting, I put a poll on my story, my Instagram story, because I was really curious what people thought, who was going to win. And like 85% of the people thought Tyson would win. Now, maybe I don't know if they thought Tyson would win or they wanted him to win.
It's probably wanted because Jake's, from what I've seen,
he's easy to hate.
Well, he's the heel. He does it on purpose.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to be the bad guy. He's trying to be the bad guy.
He trolls a lot.
It's some of the most successful people out there were the heel. The Rock was the heel.
Yeah. It can be very effective.
Right? It's very effective. So you have to kind of be the bad guy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a problem doing it. He does it really well. Like I've seen some of the promotional stuff over the years since he's been around. He does a really good job of it. But I also saw something, which this could all be complete BS, but like they have a contract that Mike won't knock out Jake and that it's fixed and that Jake will win.
Yeah, there's always that. Every time Jake Paul
Well,
fights
it's not a sanctioned fight.
I thought it was.
No. Well, I mean, it's a fight, but it's not.
It actually counts as against Jake's professional record, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. But, I mean, I would also see Mike as the kind of guy that if you just caught him right, he wouldn't give a fuck what that contract said.
Right.
If that existed. And he's like, I'm going to knock your ass out.
Yeah. So today, have you seen the clip of Mike slapping Jake?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's absolutely.
Do you think that was real or fake?
No.
You think that was fake?
Well, I think he slapped him, but I think he probably said, hey, slap me.
Oh.
Yeah, I know he slapped him, but I do not believe for a fucking second that this is not World Wrestling Federation transferred into boxing.
You don't think you think it's incredible acting?
I do.
Yeah.
100%.
Because they did a good job. If that's acting,
Dude,
it's a good job.
It's if you look at what it is, all these fights that I've seen have mostly been based off of a popularity of a person that's past their prime or hasn't really fought, right? That way, in that format. Like, oh, he's a MMA guy, so we're going to put him in a boxing ring. Or he's a wrestler, we're going to put him in a boxing ring. Or that kind of shit, right? It's not really been a boxer versus a boxer. And it still hasn't been a boxer versus a boxer in his prime.
Well,
right?
Jake fought one guy. The guy he lost to.
Yeah,
was
the
a
guy
boxer.
he lost to.
What's his last name?
Which I still think he was on his downturn, if I remember right.
No, he wasn't. No, his brother was a heavyweight champ.
Oh, that's right.
What's
that's
his
right.
name?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, mind you, I don't follow any of this. This
Right.
is just crap that shows up in my feed.
Yeah.
That I like,
So-
that's interesting. I should pay attention to that.
Yeah, media will always say Jake's rigging stuff. If you watch him fight and train, he's definitely progressed. He's got good reach. He's got good power. And it's 2-minute rounds, which I think plays into Mike's favor because it's obviously less about endurance. But he's 58. I honestly don't want to see Mike get knocked out in a bad way at 58.
No.
Because any boxer catches another boxer on the jaw, they can get knocked out.
Sure.
You know, it could happen. You move your jaw the wrong way. You move your head the wrong way. You catch one the wrong way. I don't want to see Mike take a bad knockout.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, and I wonder how defensively Jake's going to box. Is he going to just box around him? Is he going to play defensively, box defensively? Because he has reach. I think he probably will a little bit in the first couple rounds. But I honestly think Jake ends up winning it.
Yeah, I think you
And it's
will
hard.
too.
It's always hard for me to bet against Vegas too, unless I have a compelling reason to.
Yeah. Yeah, but it'll be interesting to watch if it looks like it's really a fight or if it looks like they're kind of taking it easy on each other.
One thing that's interesting to me is I haven't seen Mike box. I mean, he was kind of pre me watching sports, but just watching his boxing style now and the way he moves, and I've heard a few people talk about it. It's like very unique to him. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's like very tight, close to his face.
Yes.
It's like a guy you wouldn't want to box close with. It, like to me, he's like Mike wants to box him close, and if he does, it could be real bad for Jake.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully he keeps his distance.
I could see that.
Hopefully it's a good fight. You know, I hope no real weird shit happens because you got a young guy versus fighting an old guy, and I don't want to see something happen live on Netflix that gets real weird. You know,
Right?
But
It wouldn't be pretty.
hopefully it's a good fight. Anyway, you got anything you want to add?
We're running out of bows.
Yeah, just a couple left.
I'm left to Bowtech and Prime.
Protec and
Haven't
Prime.
launched, and I got rumor mill stuff that Bowtech might be pushing back till like the trade show almost.
Yeah.
So that means you got another month and a half before you actually launch product.
Which is a little curious to me. Makes me wonder if they're going to change something, or maybe a batch of early bows came back with a flaw.
I think it's that one.
Yeah.
But I got to call and check.
But I think it's better to do that. I mean, if you had a batch of test bows go out and they came back with something goofy, like don't try to launch the product. Get it right and then send it out to the public.
Or, you know, they I know they had a couple of different things they were working on, and they may have shelved it and said this isn't going to get done in time, or they may have went, no, we really need to get this out, so let's push the date back so this can get added too, which I'm really hoping that's the case.
Yeah.
I'd like to see there's some really good potential there if they just manage to do it right.
And if you are a short draw person, if you are a Nolan and one of the shop techs here, if you're a Dan,
Nolan doesn't work in the shop anymore. He works for Ultraview.
He's heading out.
Yeah. Yeah, Ultraview poached one of my employees.
Nolan said no, but consider that short draw. I think that's a sleeper.
He says he absolutely will not shoot a Mathews.
Well, Nolan won't, but
Nolan's a hater.
If there's a short draw person out there, what I'm saying is consider it, because I think you're going to get a really efficient bow in a very nimble package.
Nimble. Good word.
Nimble. All right, we're out. That's the pod. Appreciate you guys. Subscribe. 10,000 subscribers before Christmas. No matter what, got to get there.
Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
See ya. You can cut that out. Goodbye.